Hey girl, hey. Hey girl, hey. Hey boy, hey. Hey Tracy Walker. What's up, Breezy? Jessica, Samantha. Hey girl, hey. What's up, Brenda J. Smith? Marilyn McKinney, P. Marcel. Hey girl, hey. Please hit the share button. Please hit the like button and the subscribe button. Tonight we are discussing chapter 8 from Book of Jules. Chapter 8 from Book of Jules. Turn to your neighbor and say, we're talking about chapter 8, death. It starts on page 111. What's up, Sine? Hey, Rochelle. Is it Rochelle? Hey, girl, hey. Hey, Stacy. Hey, Powerful. Hey, Amy Love. Hey, TT and Josh. Hey, girl, hey. Hey, Neil. Hey, Lakeisha. Hey, D. Will. Was that D. Willis? If you do not have a copy of Book of Jules, my website is right here. You can purchase from my website. I autograph them, and D. Willis, and I autograph them and I ship them out to you. Hey, Miss Trina D. What's up, Lola? But you can also purchase the Audible version. I am on my best narration voice over there on audible.com. You can purchase all of my books except for the Book of Quotes. They're all available on Audible. Every single book is available on Amazon as well as all digital platforms. So if you have an iPad, you have a Kindle. Hey, Octavia Rivers. Hey, girl. Hey, hey, V Journey. Hey, Pamela. Hey, girl. Hey, hey, niece. How the internet? Is the internet okay tonight? Hey, girl. Hey, come on in, niece. Hey, Bianca. Say hello. She coming in telling me it's a new background. You come in and say hello. Thank you, Serene. Is it Serene? Thank you for purchasing the Audible. Hey, Barbara King. It's also $5 Friday. Hey, girl. Hey, hey, boy. Hey. The information is running across the bottom. Thank you to those of you that already sent a little something today through the Cash App. For $5 Friday, Jose Roble, my girl Datis, my girl Jackie Cheatham, my girl Cephas, Stephanie Huggins, Kawadas, aka Deacon Santana, Erica Price, Khalid Gaera. Okay, and I think that's it. Aren't they clocking my location powerful? They're so nosy. I just need them to get focused on what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're reading from chapter 8. Book of Jules. Oh, Stacy says she got her goalies today. Hey, girl. Hey, speaking of goalies, let me go ahead and take mine. I got a new batch today as well. For those who are going to ask me, goalies are gluten-free. They're vegan. They're organic. They're non-GMO. And they are comparable to taking the apple cider vinegar shots, but they're not harsh like that, right? They give you energy. They regulate your blood pressure as well as your sugar levels and all that good stuff. And they suppress your appetite. So if you know you like to eat at 9, 10, 12 o'clock at night, pop you 2 goalies and lay yourself down. But anyway, good day thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig the Writer Stewart. Hold on, niece. Hold on. Oh, that goddamn noise. Did I say it? Good day thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig the Writer Stewart, and this is the Facebook and YouTube live versions of So Much to Say. These are my thoughts in my voice on black shit, white shit, foolishness, gay shit, and everything in between. So, Book of Jules, for those of you who may be brand new, Book of Jules is my 4th book. It was released in February. And it is 11 chapters. It's not a thick book. It's not a very thick book, but it's a mouthful, niece. It's a mouthful. It's very, very important. It's a very important work. I really do think that this is my best work. But it's 11 of, hey, Miss Cleo. Is that Miss Cleo that was working with Dionne Warwick? Is that Miss Cleo? Hey, girl, hey. Anyway, it's 11 chapters of the biggest life lessons that I've learned. So thank you, Brittany, for putting that information up there. It's very robust. It's very robust. Yeah. So you need to spoon feed yourself these chapters, right? Take your time with it. This is not a book that you have to read all in one sitting. It's one of those books that you want to come back to, time and time again at different points in your life, because, you're forever growing and changing and evolving. But it's 11 of the biggest life lessons that I've learned. And I tell or share stories from my personal life and how I got to the lesson. So, for example, the first chapter of the book is called Life. There's a chapter called Dating. There's a chapter called Love and Fear. There's a chapter called Passion, Fate, and Destiny. Tonight, we're talking about death, okay? Last week, we discussed faith versus religion. But tonight, I wanted to talk about this chapter. And I know ostensibly, at first glance, you might think that this chapter is going to be kind of dark and kind of sad. And I know some of you may have avoided that chapter or may not even want to listen to this conversation tonight because you may have lost someone very close to you. Hey there, girly girl. Hey, girl, hey. You may have lost someone close to you, a family member, a loved one, or, a significant other. And you're trying to do everything in your power to avoid facing that emotional pain, right? Thank you. It's a new awakening. Yes, I like to think so. So when I was approaching this chapter, I've shared with you guys before that it took me about 8 years to write this book. Death was probably one of the last chapters that I wrote because I didn't want it to be literal, right? And I didn't really know how I wanted to broach this topic, this chapter. And so it kind of sat. And then finally, I was having lunch with a friend of mine a few months before the book released. And it was very serendipitous the way that it happened. It was quite serendipitous. I didn't know that I was going to run into her. I was coming out of the gym, and she just happened to be at this little restaurant. And again, it wasn't planned. It was just by chance, serendipitous. It happened serendipitously. And so I went and sat down with her, and we ended up having a conversation. And while we were having a conversation, an older gentleman walked behind me. Like she was sitting in front of me. We were having lunch. And there was an older gentleman that walked behind me. I didn't see him. I literally had to turn around because she was like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" Like she was talking over my shoulder. So I ended up opening the chapter with that story. Powerful said, I got the book on Amazon, but I did not get one thing for certain, two things for sure. I am now reading Words Never Spoken. Well, you started in the right place because Words Never Spoken is my first book. Then you want to go to One Thing for Certain, Two Things for Sure, because it picks up where Words Never Spoken leave off. And then my third book is a book of quotes, and then this book. So this is a standalone book. So when this gentleman was walking by, my friend who was facing that way was like, "Oh my God, this guy just lost all of his children." It was a double suicide. I'm not going to read this part, this opening part of the book, because I want you to read it for yourself or get the Audible and just listen to it for yourself. But I'll just kind of explain what happened. But we were having lunch, and she said to me, did you not hear what happened? And she was like, "That's the doctor whose wife committed a double murder. It was a murder-suicide." And so his wife killed their two children who were adults, one of which was in college and one had just graduated a couple years before. She had killed their two adult children, and then she killed herself. He was a doctor, the husband that we saw walking by, and the wife who killed the children and then herself was also a doctor. She was a surgeon as well. And so it rocked the medical community in Atlanta. Yeah, I kind of shared this story. That's right, MJ Cancer Queen. I shared this story when it happened because it was really like a breakthrough for me of how I was gonna frame this chapter. And yes, powerful. I do the chapter reads on Fridays. And so the fact that this man was out in public and he was on his way to get a haircut, he was going into a barbershop. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, it's amazing how this man was able to pull himself together. I don't know what type of emotional threshold for pain he's able to handle. And I don't know how he's even coping, but the fact that this man was out in public and was going to get a haircut, he was able to pick himself up and move on with his life. It was fascinating to me because I know people who lose family members just through natural causes, a parent, or they may lose a child because the child may have had some illness or the child may have been killed, or they may lose a sibling and they're not able to continue on with their life. But the fact that this man, his ex-wife, killed both of their children and then killed herself, to me, I felt like it was an act of, I think that the wife really wanted to send him a message more than anything. The ex-wife, she wanted to send him a message more than anything. So this chapter opens with an original quote, as do all of the chapters. And this chapter opens with, sometimes the gift is in letting go, right? Sometimes the gift is in letting go. And so I just shared with you how the chapter opens. But if you want the actual details, I want you to just go ahead and get the book. But on page 113, if you want to join this conversation, you're welcome. If you've read this particular chapter, you're welcome to join the conversation. I'm going to post the link in here now. Here's the link. Thank you. Thank you very much. You guys really enjoyed that conversation this morning. Lori Ann said, yes, I remember that. A beautiful couple, beautiful kids. Yes. But if you'd like to join this conversation, you're welcome to. I'm going to start on the bottom, the next to the last paragraph on page 113. And so I already framed it for you. So I wondered how he managed to go on with his life in a functional way after something so heinous. I mean, he was out getting a haircut when others in similar or less extreme cases of loss or death can't manage to pull themselves out of bed, let alone brush their teeth, get dressed, and leave home for a barber appointment. I can't say definitively whether or not this speaks to his emotional threshold for pain and grief, or if it simply means that we're all wired differently. Some experience tremendous loss in a tragic way, yet find a way to continue moving through life. Others collapse in their emotions, never to regain composure after a loved one dies, even in cases of natural causes after living 80 to 90 years. Instead of living, they spend the remainder of their life in mourning. I'm not suggesting that mourning is unnatural or that there's a specific time frame during which one should recover from loss. I'm speaking more specifically about people who experience death in their life and never recover enough to continue living their own. They exist solely on memories that keep them breathing from day to day. Death gives life purpose. When we witness death, it should push us to live more fervently and purposefully. Death should refocus us on our purpose in life. So I wanted that. I hope that resonates with those of you that are struggling to overcome the death of a loved one or something like that. Because how disappointed would your loved one, the person that you lost, how disappointed would they be in you, knowing that you've gotten stuck in this sadness, in this web of sadness, and you're unable, or you think you're unable to pull yourself out of that sadness, that grief, that mourning. I think that you honor that person's life when you can grieve their life, honor their life, memorialize them, and then able to move on. But I think about it, and I think that what happens for some people when they lose someone, they think that the longer they grieve, the longer they suffer, the more they love the person, or they think that it demonstrates how much they love that person. But I would imagine that your loved one would want you to continue on with your life. Yeah. So hopefully that comes across the way that I wanted it to come across. But in this chapter, I also talked about how there were certain deaths that happened, and I can always forever remember where I was, right? Because again, death gives life purpose, right? It should push us to live more purposefully and fervently, right? Whether it means you going back to school, starting a business, living your life to the fullest. But I talk about the death of like Princess Diana and Whitney Houston and Aaliyah. Like I remember where I was when each of those women died or was killed. I'll never forget where I was. And for me, I used to always say that I was afraid of death. Yes, this is a new book, Davina. It's available on my website, craigthewriterstewart.com, and Audible, and all of the places that you can get books. But I used to say that I was afraid of death or of dying. But I think I'm more so concerned with when and how, right? Not so much death itself. Because once you're going, you're going. Like, that's it. Yes, grief absolutely has no time frame, and it's different for everyone. It varies from person to person. And so then on page 116, third paragraph, I say, there are no quick solutions for how to recover after a death because it impacts each of us differently, to your point, Tiffany. But I believe the way to honor a life that's been lost is to mourn the loss while remaining steadfast and active in your own life. The way to respect death and the loss of a life is to flourish and thrive in your own. When we allow ourselves to drown in the pain and be overcome by sorrow, it dishonors and tarnishes the life we lost. Thank you, Tracy. Tracy said it's a great read. I cried a little. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you so much. Yes, there are 4 stages of grief. That one, and I don't remember the order of them, but one is sadness, one is anger, and I think, don't quote me on the last 2. I can't remember, but I do remember sadness and anger, because that's a part. Sometimes you get really angry. Jasmine said, I experienced a lot of death at a young age, and now I just feel numb when someone passes. Death is overwhelming. And then I say, this is the next to last paragraph on page 116. We must be patient with the pain that comes from any type of broken heart, Because when we think about a broken heart, we often think about in a relationship. But your heart is broken too when you lose a grandmother or a mother or a brother or a child. It's a broken heart. Stacy said, "You're definitely speaking directly to me tonight. Yesterday was a bad day in my grief." And you know, you have to be patient with the pain. I love Book of Jewels. Wish I had learned lessons early in life. Thank you, Kimberly. Okay, somebody said the other two stages are denial and acceptance. Right. So it's anger, and there's not in any particular order. And they say that the order, changes. But there's sadness, there's anger, there's denial, and there's acceptance. Yes, y'all, come on. This is why I say good day thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. We do have a GED section, but everybody is welcome. Everybody is welcome. A broken heart can sometimes feel like death, yes. But what I've been telling myself is, Craig, you can recover from a broken heart. If you tell yourself you can recover from a broken heart, it makes things a little bit easier. You just have to remind yourself that you can recover from anything. And then I talk in this chapter about my maternal grandmother's death and how that impacted me, how I spoke at her funeral. But then I also spoke about my mom, a situation with my mom. You all know that my mom is on dialysis, and she's been on dialysis now for probably about 3 years, I guess. But in the beginning, Alicia's saying that there are 5 stages of death. Are there 4 or 5? But Tiffany said the GED section deals with grief as well. But I write about a situation in here as well with my mom because there were some complications when she was beginning her dialysis. And we had a couple scares, Some of you may remember if you've been watching my videos for a while. I was jumping on planes like every other week, flying home to Maryland. I remember one morning I got a phone call, that my mom was in the hospital, and I was home that evening. I was home. I bought the plane ticket the same day and was home. It's a shame the way that the airlines rip you off. You understand what I'm saying? I got to get home, and y'all gonna charge me all that money. But yeah. So anyway, this is all I really want to say about this particular chapter. There's a lot in here, but I don't want to give it all away, right? So we're going to go ahead and shift the conversation to something else. Unless you all have something else that you want to say, unless you all want to join the conversation about Book of Jewels, but this is all I really have to say about this particular chapter. Okay, they say that the 5 stages of grief are bargaining, anger, depression, denial, 1, 2, 3, 4, and acceptance. So bargaining, anger, depression, denial, and acceptance. Okay, so there are 5 stages of grief. Shamika said, let's talk about something happy. Hey, girl, hey. Okay, so for those of you that were watching Maddie in the Morning today, I got a lot of messages from you guys. I got a lot of messages directly to my website. Did your roommate take the $25,000? What $25,000? What? Oh. In this particular chapter. Brittany. Okay, so there's a story that I share in the book in the death chapter. Yeah, Andrew wasn't able to make it tonight. He wasn't able to make it. I talk about Whitney Houston's death. I was living in LA at the time, and I had a roommate when I lived in LA who worked at the Beverly Hotel where Whitney Houston died. She was a front desk person. And I don't know if I've ever shared this. On here, but my roommate was the one who answered the phone call when they got the call at the front desk that there was, that she was, submerged under the water and she wasn't. My roommate was the one who picked up the phone, right? The full story is in chapter 8. Now, I'm not going to tell the entire story, but what I was explaining was in the book, and this is what Brittany is asking me about. When it was announced around the world that Whitney Houston died, right? Tabloid radio stations, tabloid television shows from around the world were calling to the calling to the hotel and asking, yeah, we heard that Whitney Houston passed away. Just hoping that whoever answered the front desk phone would just slip, because they were recording, like they were calling from different radio stations and they were recording. So they were waiting, they were hoping to catch them saying something, important. And what happened was my roommate was not able to come home that night. A lot of the employees were not able to come home because the hotel was so busy. And remember that Grammy party was happening that night, the Clive Davis Grammy party. And so the hotel was very, very busy that night. And then, of course, there was so much, it was a circus because TMZ was outside. And so when they were able to leave, they were admonished by management. My roommate and other employees were admonished by management, do not speak to the tabloids. Because if you speak to the tabloids, you will be terminated, right? Because the tabloids were trying to just get information from whoever left the hotel. Just trying to get information. And when I tell you, they were offering the employees $25,000 for any information because they wanted to be the first to break the news, right? $25,000 would not have cost, would have been a drop in the bucket for them if they were able to sell something major, some major information. And but my thing is, I'm like, girl, I would have took that $25,000. No, I'm just playing. I don't know if I could have done that in good conscience, right? But I'm just like, they're talking about you would have gotten fired. Girl, who cares? If you really were a person who really wanted the money and needed the money, who gives a damn about that hourly wage job that I'd have took that $25,000 and I'd have went and found me another job. But no, she did not take the money. She did not take the money, to answer your question, Brittany. But yeah, it's interesting because the other thing that around Whitney's death, because remember at this point, it was rumored that Whitney and Ray J were dating. Well, my roommate had also told me that Ray J and Brandy had been at the hotel. They had been there that day. So, and she saw them. So she knew, she had already kind of dropped the bug that Whitney and Ray J were Whitney and Ray J were kind of moving around the hotel together, so it wasn't no secret to me. So like some of that stuff I already knew, and, but it was really, really interesting when this stuff came out. Yeah, I probably would have asked for more money. Actually, I'm gonna need $45,000. But I'm sure it's part of their training for sure. Yeah, because there are always celebrities at that hotel, and But once Whitney Houston died, I could never pass that hotel without thinking about her dying, because where I lived in LA and where I used to hang out, because I used to drive to like West Hollywood, you had to pass the Beverly Hills Hotel on the way to West Hollywood. That's where the gays are in West Hollywood hanging out. So I would always pass it. Yeah, I'm gonna need $100K, and this information is gonna be really good. And I may even be able to furnish you some pictures. I can sneak upstairs to the hotel room and take a few pictures. Look at MJ Cancer. My inner voice will be on my back like a monkey. She'd have sold that story. Right. What type of contract does one need to guarantee that you get the amount that was promised? Because I'm gonna need my cash up front. You got the money? Because I got information. I need to see the money. But yeah. But anyway, so this morning on Maddie in the Morning, we were talking about relationships. We were talking about love, and it was based on a situation that's been, floating around on social media. If you saw the show, then you know exactly who we were talking about. I'm not going to bring it up again because I don't want to, beat a dead horse, and I don't want to, kick somebody while they're down, while they're trying to recover and heal from a relationship, but or a breakup, heal from a breakup. But, for me, my perspective, and those of you that know how I feel about relationships and love, I understand that there's nothing permanent on this side of life. Nothing is permanent. No family member, no best friend, no job, nothing, because we all have to leave this planet, right? So nothing is permanent. And this is why I say all of the time, it's important to to really breathe life in and enjoy it. Enjoy it. Enjoy every single moment of it. And wrap your arms around it and wrap your whole self around it. And just know that if it should come to an end, because for whatever reason it should come to an end, just know that you can recover from it. Just know that you're strong enough, you're capable enough of recovering from whatever it is, and that you're just supposed to enjoy it while you have it. And it doesn't mean that you go, in the case of a relationship, that you go in barely breathing, anticipating it ending. You don't have to go in there anticipating. Enjoy it, celebrate it, be excited about it. But just understand that even if the two of you stay in a relationship until death do you part, somebody got to die. In fact, you both got to die. So just enjoy it. Don't go into it thinking that, oh, he's going to leave me, or, oh, he's going to cheat. Oh, he's going to break up with me. Oh, somebody better is going to come along and he's going to like them more. Change the way that you think. You have to rid yourself of all of that. And what you have to do is just stand in it firmly and just enjoy it, because nothing is permanent. And so, when people say, you can't trust relationships and just that and the third, like, if that's the case, you can't trust anything in life, because nothing is going to stay around. Nothing is going to stay around forever, right? So just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. And just know that every single thing that you encounter, every single thing that you experience, whether it comes in the form of a relationship, whether it comes in the form of a job or an opportunity, it's all designed to grow you. It's all designed to grow you. It's all designed to catapult you to the next stage or phase of your life, to the next level in your life. It's all about... And when you think about it from a spiritual perspective, God or the universe, however you see, that thing out there, God and the universe will provide you everything that you need to grow you exponentially. Because it's like for as long as we're on the planet, you should want to be used to the point that God stretches you and pulls you. And I write about that in here. I write about that, I think, either in Love and Fear. There's a chapter called Love and Fear, or I write about it in the dating chapter. I can't remember. But in the case of love, in relationships, they're designed to stretch you and to pull you, and I don't mean dysfunctionally. I'm not saying that, you have to allow somebody to drag you through. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're going to be tested in your relationship. Your patience is going to be tested. Your character is going to be tested. Your integrity is going to be tested. Every single thing is going to be tested. And I want to elaborate on this a little bit, because I didn't get to really say this morning. But when I tell you, as much as I share with you guys, and you guys know that I've been single for a very long time, and during that time, I spent a considerable amount of that time really, really building myself and reflecting on past relationships. But even with all of that, I still have those tapes, like cassette tapes. I still have those tapes that run in my mind that have nothing to do with this situation, right? And so you have to learn to turn those tapes off. You have to learn to talk yourself off the ledge, because your previous experiences can disrupt a present situation or a future situation. You have to control that. And so with all that I share on here, or all that I teach, or all that I know, I still have to put it in practice, right? And I was tested. last week, and for those of you that sit in your singleness right now, and you're pining over why you're single and when you're going to get your chance for a good person, a good relationship, this is your time to be doing your work. This is the time to be doing that inner work, so that when the opportunity comes, you're able to embrace it and with open arms, and not be dysfunctionally functional. You understand what I'm saying? So instead of you trying to expedite the process, because if it was meant for you to be in a relationship right now, you would be there. But the universe is trying to tell you there's still some work that you need to do on yourself, niece. There's still some work that you need to do on yourself, niece and nephew. So stop trying to rush it. Stop trying to rush it. Because again, and when that person shows up, there's no relationship that's going to be perfect. Life, the universe will send tests to your relationship because it's all about you growing. It's all about you growing. And I said this earlier today. I say it in Book of Jewels. You have to be teachable. You have to be teachable. If you want to be in a relationship, you must be teachable. And your partner needs to be teachable because that's why you come together, to teach each other something. And the relationship, in theory, from a spiritual realm, from a spiritual perspective, the relationship lasts as long as you both need to learn from each other. Once you no longer need to learn from each other, it goes away. Whether that's death, whether that's a breakup, whether it's a divorce, whatever it is, right? I was going to share some. So for example, your relationship is not going to be perfect, and there will always be opportunities for growth for you and your partner to grow. And there's a movie, and I definitely have shared this with you guys before. There's a movie called Shall We Dance? It's called Shall We Dance? And it's with Susan Sarandon, Jennifer Lopez, and Richard Gere. Richard Gere and Susan Sarandon are married in this movie. Richard Gere and Susan Sarandon are married in this movie. Jennifer, what's her name? Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez is a dance teacher. And Richard Gere used to see Jennifer Lopez in the window as he was on the train on his way to work every morning. Well, the way that the movie was set up, ostensibly, it looked like he was going to cheat. You know how those movies kind of lead you to think something, right? So he'd be on the train every morning, he'd be looking up and he would see her. And then one day he got off the train. And so the way that the movie was set up, you were led to believe that he was going to have an affair. But in actuality, he went to learn dance lessons because his, I think, 25th wedding anniversary with Susan Sarandon was coming up. And for the entire duration of their marriage, he never knew how to dance. So the movie is called Shall We Dance? And so he was taking secret dance lessons so that when their anniversary came up, he could dance with her, right? Well, Susan Sarandon thought that he was having an affair. Amen. Because see, sometimes your insecurities shine through. Sometimes we confuse our insecurities for instincts. There's a difference, and I talk about that in Book of Jewels. There's a difference between your instincts and insecurities. You have to know the difference between the two. Because see, sometimes your insecurities are things that are reaching from your past. It's not your instincts. It's some stuff that you haven't healed from your past. So Susan Sarandon thought that he was having an affair. So she hired a private detective. This kind of goes to what Madison was talking about this morning, testing people. If I got to hire a private detective, niece, I don't need to be there. I said, if I got to hire a private detective. So his pattern had changed because when he got off work, he was going to these dance lessons, right? And so his pattern changed. And so she thought that he was having an affair. So she was like, shit wasn't adding up because he wasn't telling her that he was going to do these, because it was a surprise. It was a surprise. He was trying to surprise her. She hired this private detective. So the private detective followed him for weeks, right? Finally, the private detective came. You know where I'm going with this, Nikita? Come on, niece. So the private detective had dinner with Susan Sarandon and said, here's what happened. Here are the pictures. He had pictures and everything. He said he's not having an affair. He's taking dance lessons. He's taking dance lessons. Well, Susan Sarandon was still pissed off. She was pissed because she felt like he had excluded her from that part of his life. I'm getting there, niece. You know, I like a pregnant pause. I'm getting there, niece. I like a pregnant pause. She still felt betrayed, even though it wasn't an affair, but she felt betrayed because she felt like he had cut her out of a portion of his life, a section of his life. He had excluded her. And she said to the detective, this clip is on YouTube. You ain't even got to go watch the whole movie. Go on YouTube and type in Susan Sarandon, shall we dance? And then the word marriage. Type in Susan Sarandon, shall we dance, and marriage. That clip is going to come up. She's sitting at a pub table with this detective. And she said to so the detective said to her, why are you upset? He's not having an affair. You should be upset. You should be excited. You should be happy. And Susan Sarandon said to him, detective, why do people get married? Now, this is where she took me home, baby, and I was understanding where she was coming from. But she said, why do people get married? Now, I'm paraphrasing, niece, but I'm going to give you what she said, the gist of what she said. It's almost verbatim, though. And he said something very, very basic, like for companionship. I can't remember what he said, but when she said, why do people get married? He said something very basic, like for companionship. She says, no, to have a witness to your life. She said, there's 6 billion people in the world. What really does one life mean? She said, when you commit to someone, when you agree to be married to someone, what you're saying to them is that I will be a witness to your life. Your life will not go unnoticed because I will be there to notice the good, the bad, the happy, the sad, the mundane. I will be there for all of it. Baby, when I tell you that scene rocked me to my core, it rocked me to my core. She just wanted to be there. She wanted to know everything that was going on with him. She wanted to have that kind of a relationship where no matter what was going on in his life, she was going to be there to help anchor him and to pick him up. And she wanted him there for that as well. But conversely, on the other side of it, I felt like, girl, he was trying to surprise you. He was trying to surprise. You know what I'm saying? Like, and see, that's where it kind of moves into the realm of relationships being ownership and control, right? Relationships are not ownership or control. You're sharing your life with someone. They're sharing their life with you. They're not giving their life away. Just because they're in a relationship with you doesn't mean they're giving you their life. You don't get to decide and make this. You don't get to choose who their friends are going to be. You don't get to do that. Because see, you looking crazy. Now, you may think that your partner's friends are bad influences, and they may. But you don't get to decide that whether or not they remain friends with them. You only get to decide if you're going to stay there while they're friends with them. That's it. You only get to govern you. You only get to govern you. You can lay your boundaries out. Lay your boundaries out. I talk about the distinction between boundaries. That's in the dating chapter. I talk about the distinction between boundaries and deal breakers. There's a difference between boundaries and deal breakers. And I said this earlier this morning. I'll elaborate on it a little bit more. Some of you think that when you're in a relationship that you're entitled to your partner's passcode. No, no, you're not entitled to my passcode. Now, if I give it to you, it's because that's what I want to do. But you shouldn't assume that I have something in here to hide from you simply because I'm still entitled to privacy. Just because I'm in a relationship with you doesn't mean that I don't have privacy. I still want to have privacy. Communication is our partner. Clarity is our friend. That's what Lovelace wanted to hear. Communication is our partner. Clarity is our friend. But so there you have it. So I really tried to do my best in this chapter. I really tried to write the biggest life lessons that I've learned, from start to finish, and like just of all of the things that I've learned in my life. And like I said, I packaged them in these individual chapters. And so the chapters are life, the chapters are death. There's a chapter called dating, growth, love and fear, passion, fate, and destiny. In that chapter, I try to share with you how to figure out what you were called to do. What's your assignment while you're here on earth? What were you called to do? What's your life's purpose? What's your passion? Because a lot of people don't know what their passion is, what they were called to do. There's a chapter called Difficult Conversations. There's a chapter called Faith versus Religion. So I try to contain everything I learned. There's a chapter called Envy, right? So anyway, that's all I have for you guys tonight. Thank you guys for the Cash App. My girl Juanesta came on through here and busted through. Brittany, Kimberly Dooley, Alicia Wells, Althea Cook, Shanika, Jonathan Mitchum. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys for supporting what I do. Thank you for supporting the books. The books are available over at Craig the Writer Stewart. All 4 of the books, I signed them and I ship them out to you. But you can also purchase them through Audible, Amazon, and all e-readers. All right? Have an amazing night. Be safe. Brush your teeth, floss your teeth, brush your tongue. Be open to learning something new and